Hello everyone. Today we'll be starting with the basics of statistics. This is Mrs. Mariam Khan and I'm here to guide you throughout the lecture. We start with some basic terms. The first one is the population. Any well-defined set of objects about which a statistical inquiry is been made is known as a population. For example, if you consider all students of your college, you consider all citizens of India, etc. etc. Next is a variate. If the members of a population that is being studied takes a numerical value, we call it a variate or a variable. Basically, it refers to a quantity. Example, number of students of your college. Next is the types of variables. There are two different types of variables, the discrete variable and the continuous variable. A variate which takes only integer values like 1, 2, 3, 10 or even 0, -2, -5, etc. comes under discrete variate. For example, the number of family members of a student is a discrete variate. Number of students of your college is again a discrete variate. A continuous variate. A variable that is capable of taking all possible values is known as a continuous variable. Basically, we don't restrict ourselves to integers in continuous variables. For example, a height of a student can be 5.54 feet, it can be 5.57 feet, and so on. Such a variable is known as a continuous variable. Next, data and statistics. When the quality understudy of a population is collected, it is called a data. The collected data as it is known as the raw data. For example, if I consider the raw data of 20 students, the marks out of 6, roll number wise, this is what I get. This data will not show you perfectly how many students have got 0 marks at one glance. So you need some tabular representation for statistical study. So for that, we classify it into ungrouped frequency distribution. The same data, I have made it a tabular representation in which the first column is of marks, that is from 0 to 6, and the second column represents frequency. What do you mean by frequency? It's basically the number of students who have got that particular marks. For example, 3 students have got 0 marks, 2 students who have got 1 marks, and so on. This tabular representation helps us for a better statistical study. But again, if I want to make the study more compact, I say the students who have got marks from 0 to 2 are failures. The students who have got marks 2 and above have passed. But students from 2 to 4 are average and 4 to 6 are excellent, outstanding. So we need to make this data into groups. How many students are failures? So you can say the students who have got marks from 0 less than equal to 2 or strictly less than 2. You can say the frequency is 5. The number of students who have got marks strictly less than 2 is 5. Number of students who are average who have got marks less than 4 is R7, and the number of students who have got marks from 4 to 6, the outstanding ones, are 8. This is known as a group data. When the ungrouped data is classified into groups or class intervals, you call it to be a grouped frequency distribution. Next, recall. Consider a grouped frequency distribution. There are some terms you should be very familiar with. The first one is the class intervals. Basically, the marks are represented as 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6. These are your class intervals. For any particular interval, for example 0 to 2, the number before the hyphen 0 is your lower limit and the number after the hyphen 2. That is your upper limit. Class mark. Class mark is basically the midpoint of a class interval. It is the lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2. In simple words, you can say it is the average of the upper limit and the lower limit. Next is the width of the class. You can say the length of the class. The distance, or you can say the difference between the upper limit and the lower limit, is known as the width. You can say, you can see easily here, 2 minus 0 is 2. So therefore, the class width is 2. Lastly, a very important fact. Every class interval is closed at its lower limit and open at its upper limit. This statement is very important. What do I mean by being closed and open? When you consider the first class interval 0 to 2 and its frequency as 7, how do you read it? You say number of students who have got marks from 0 strictly less than 2 are 7. This means you are including all those students who have got marks right from 0 less than 2. You're not including the ones who have got 2 in your first row. Where do they go? They go to the second row. Number of students who have got marks from 2 strictly less than 4. So you'll get all those who have got 2 marks and 3 marks, and not the ones who have got 4 marks, because it's strictly less than 4. In the last one, you include both the upper limit as well as lower limit. So it's number of students who have got marks from 4 to 6. It's not strictly less than 6. It's only less than 6. So you include less than or equal to 6. So there are 8 students. When you add them up, it becomes your total. Next is your cumulative frequency. As the name suggests, cumulative means accumulation. Such a frequency that accumulates the frequency is known as the cumulative frequency. There are two types of cumulative frequency. The first one is the less than type, and the second one is the greater than type. For less than type, you can see a small example, an illustration that will help you to understand things better. There are first two columns signify marks and the frequency given to you. CF means cumulative frequency. It's a short abbreviation for the same. How do you find cumulative frequency? You consider the class interval 0 to 2. Take the upper limit, 2. Ask a question to yourself. How many students have got marks less than 2? Your answer is 5. Of course, 5. That becomes your cumulative frequency. Go to the second row. Consider the upper limit. It's 4. How many students have got marks less than 4? So this time you'll include all those students who have got marks 0, 1, 2 and 3. So what you need to do is you need to add both the frequencies 5 and 7. So 5 plus 7 will give you 12. This is your cumulative frequency for the second row. It's basically you'll add the cumulative frequency of the previous row to the frequency of the current row. Go to the last one, ask the same question, and you'll get the answer as 20. Next is the greater than type. In this type, your question will be related to the lower limit. And unlike the previous one where you were asking how many less than, this time you'll be asking how many greater than. For example, consider the marks from 0 to 2, the first row. The number of students who have got marks 0 to 2 are 5. The question will be how many students have got marks greater than 0? Of course, all students have got marks greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0. So there are 20. So the cumulative frequency becomes 20. In the next row, you go and ask how many students have got marks greater than 2, greater than or equal to 2. This time You have to exclude all those who have got marks from 0 and 1. That is, you need to subtract 5 from 20. So you'll get 20 minus 5 is equal to 15, your current cumulative frequency. Go ahead, follow the same procedure, and you'll get the answer as 8. And finally, it will be 8 minus 8, which will be equal to 0. So in less than type, the last value of the cumulative frequency will be the total. But on the greater than type, the last value of the cumulative frequency will be 0. In greater than type, you just keep on subtracting the cumulative frequency from the frequency of the previous row to get cumulative frequency of the current row. This is all for today, and we end this lecture. Thank you and have a nice day.